usually cope with things like this through writing. So this is what I got after reading about it. I read somewhere that this was a return on investment, and I can't get that phrase out of my head. Return on investment. 51 dead, murdered, and 50 injured. It frustrates me thinking about human beings in terms of numbers and business expressions, but what's driving me crazy about this term, return on investment, is it's true. Years of pushing propaganda that Muslims are terrorists, or the new way of saying it now, not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslim. Years of building up this idea and casually promoting it to people until they think they've generated the opinion on their own. Through movies, TV shows, video games, and even the news, a source we're supposed to rely on to be unbiased. They've all been contributing to this idea that Muslims are terrorists and terrorists are Muslim. The words almost come up in unison. The word terrorism evokes an image, an article of clothing. People couldn't just accept a stereotype of this magnitude overnight. This took years in the making. Strategic wordplay, labeling, investing, until people started internalizing it. Muslims are terrorists, and terrorists are Muslim. They internalized it until we could see it in their stares, until we could sense it in their comments, until the verbal abuse became routine, until the physical attacks became a chilling possibility. Muslims started pronouncing their names differently, a less intimidating version of themselves. It became harder to wear hijab, to be visibly Muslim. People became hesitant to speak in their mother tongue. It was the language of a fascist religion. People began to fear praying in public. A personal, vulnerable moment of submission suddenly criminalized. The task of owning dual identities is unbearable in a society that vilifies half of who you are. But their hate shouldn't scare us. It should fuel us. Say your name with pride. Wear your Islam openly. Speak your native language louder and pray without hesitation. Because the return on investment has already been earned in full. As for the victims in the New Zealand mosque shooting were martyrs to a war they never agreed to take part in. Years of anti-Muslim propaganda. We saw the progression, the development. We heard the gun being loaded. But it was like a game of Russian roulette. Our anticipation couldn't prepare us for what would come. The New Zealand shooting, our 3 winners. It doesn't matter how close or how far an act like this takes place when people are targeted for their faith or for the way they look. When we think of the New Zealand mosque shooting victims, we should see our families, our neighbors, our friends. We should see the people in this crowd. Because whether it's right next door, a neighboring state, or another continent, when people are targeted for their faith or for the way they look, it's always personal.